I'm here at the IGPL office with two co-founders of the Indian Golf Premier League, Akhil Nayar and Ishan DeSouza. It's good to have you guys on the show. And this is the IGPL office in Gurgaon. And Indian Golf Premier League, I'm sure everyone's heard about the Indian Golf Premier League. It was the biggest headline in the Indian or the world golf last year. And they're coming close to the completion of 1 year now. And a lot has happened in this last 1 year, and just want to kind of have an understanding on what IGPL exactly is, what it does, the plan forward, and everything that's happened till now. So, guys, it's great to be here. And thank you for having us here. Thanks for having me. I'm in your office.
No, thank you. And it's a good platform to try and put our story out there, what IGPL has been.
Of course, so Indian golf is going through a very interesting time, and my research says that in the next 5 years, India is going to be really making good progress in terms of the overall golf ecosystem. And IGPL, I'm sure, is going to be it is going to be a very key factor in making that happen. Uh, Whatever I'm doing, these conversations is around people and around brands or companies that are trying to make that little difference in the world of golf, or especially in the country of India, where there are so many aspirations, there are so many people wanting to achieve a dream, which till now has just been very far fetched. So yeah, so that's what brings me here. So straight off the bat, like I think something that I would want to ask you guys, that since you guys are the co-founders of IGPL, what was that moment and where was it that you guys like all came together? I know that you guys also have other partners and co-founders with you, and there is always that one moment where these three, four people come together and decide that we're gonna do this. So when and where was this, and what transpired such a big concept?
So I think a lot of this, the funnily enough, we used to do meetings at Chayos, we used to do meetings at Starbucks at One Horizon,
Blue Tokai.
at Blue Tokai. That's where actually all the conceptualizing and the thought of putting IGPL together came. And of course, we pivoted a long way. We've come a long way with what we started out as and what we've reached and where we plan to go. But I think one place that will be etched with us is Palms Club. We used to be in the conference room at Palms Club. We used to call it our war zone. It was like the war office, right? It was where we used to sit down. We had the conference room morning 8 a.m. to evening 8 p.m. And there was all of us on that table. And of course, we've had discussion with multiple people, multiple partners. Uh, and I think, I want to say January of last year is when actually things came together and we actually started formalizing. Of course, it took 3-4 months to again refine our ideas and talk to people. But in January last year, when we really got everything together, and I'd say in April, May is when we really got going. We had our first meet and greet with our players in May last year. So yeah, I think a bunch of places, but Palms Club is one such place where we were.
Yeah, before that, everything was very fun, and it's all about the excitement of something new. But Palms Club, I think every meeting, like you said, was more of a war zone. So we did come out with a lot of things. There were multiple iterations to what we thought we'd be doing versus what it eventually turned out to be. But yeah, that was actually I think that was one of the turning points of where it kind of formalized, right, the entire brand and the company.
And then, logos, we had another logo. I mean, just the whole process of actually coming up and seeing IGPL take its form and the fashion it's taken, the way the logo has evolved.
Absolutely.
I think, yeah, it's
Yeah. No, see, it's a very big statement to call something with the name of the country. You started with Indian and you ended with League. The Indian Golf Premier League also shows some similarity to the Indian Premier League, which is the biggest sporting league in the world, according to me, in cricket. But for you guys to have done that with golf, and that too in a country like India, which is not really up there in the golfing population, requires a lot of guts, and it requires a lot of belief in a system which currently is not really present, right? To have to be the first person to kind of get into that space and figure out that, okay, we call it the Indian Golf Premier League in itself, I would say is a very gutsy move. So what is the general vision and idea? Like, what is the broad macro vision of Indian Golf Premier League?
So, I mean, the IGPL is honestly trying to create a golfing ecosystem not only for India but globally. The idea is to stitch together different fragments and put them together under our ecosystem. So, be it professional golfers, be it the amateur golfers with our tie-ups that we have with our partners like the IGU, the junior golfers, the development that we look into that. Also, the asset building of golf in India, which is your driving ranges, academies, golf courses. So, it's the idea is to put all of this under an ecosystem and make India actually a golfing superpower globally. I think that's our main vision. If I need to sum it up, we need to be in the top three golfing nations globally. And our wish and our intent is not to restrict it to being that we're okay only in India. It is to take it globally.
Yeah, completely. I mean, just to second to what Ishan said, it's an ecosystem. It's very, very holistic. And when you look at an ecosystem, it's massive. The tour is just one part of it, but we have been working on integrating all the different parts of IGPL so that they work together, and that's how this entire thing is going to be put out there on a world stage, because it's not just an independent tour.
So there is a lot more than just a tour, and so how you say it is there are different verticals to IGPL, which kind of is the bigger umbrella for everything in golf in a way, right? Like you say, it's grassroots development, which is through academies, schools,
Right.
getting the mass involved in the sport, making sport accessible, which is, I think, one of the biggest problems this country has faced for the longest amount of time, right? Like access, and it's not reached the grassroots, the broadest part of the pyramid. And then at the same time, you take it to the best players in the world or in the country, which is the professional league, which is your tour, right?
Right.
So you're trying to get everything under one thing to create India to be a great superpower in this sport. Now, I'm sure this requires a lot of effort. It requires people from different, you guys all represent different areas of the golf industry. You all have worked and still work in different areas of expertise in the golf industry, which is very important, so that you've got people running tours, you've got people running events, you've got people running academies. So your collaborations with some really powerful associations or bodies in India, I think you've taken them all: the Indian Golf Union, the PGA of India, the WGAI, the Golf Foundation.
Right.
What's the idea behind that? Like, why have you got all these people to be a part of IGPL?
See, I think if we have to be as successful as we envision, we can't do it alone. And, these are the right partners that are there. They've obviously done a lot in their respective fields. Like you rightly mentioned, IGU, be it sending the teams to the Olympics or the Asian Games, or their junior tours that they have, the amateur tours that they have, the WGI that is in the interest of women's professional golf. TGF, of course, is doing a lot of grassroots programs. The foundation, which we're Akhil the board member of now, and the PGA of India, which is part of the coaching and the development of coaches and the more technical aspect of the game. The idea is that, to create a world beater, if I might call it, requires each and every step of the way, and we need partners like this. IGPL might be the umbrella, or it might be one of the partners of also these organizations, but I think we need to do it together. I don't think individually one person or one body can create a superpower of golf that we envision as they want to do.
Yeah, I think that's what's kind of kept India on its back foot till now, is that different people wanting different things. And in this entire process, I think the country's lost its power, or it's never become that powerful to, kind of be a superpower in the world of golf. And I think with you guys coming in and trying to get everything under one space and providing them the support, the resources, the manpower, I mean, everything is going to make that dream a reality in the next few years.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like from grassroots to the Olympic medal at some point in time. But like we said, see, all these partners have a role to play. The fact is, everyone's been working very independently, like you said. So this also is a plan where there is an entire structure. The story has to be built from the grassroots to the Olympic dream. That is what we have, and I think all of them are extremely important in this journey going forward.
I know, and I think in this conversation, I also mentioned the Asian Tour, which is a partner of ours. Very, very important pathway for our players to go and play in Asia, compete with the best. And I think, we're very grateful for that as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'll come to you asking about the IGPL tour specifically. Now, your tour is a little bit different than the Professional Golf Tour of India, which is the other tour in which a lot of professional golfers play in India. So you guys have 3-day events, and these are no-cut events, right? What's the idea behind that? Why did you want to kind of have not a cut in a professional event, and why are these 3 days?
So, I mean, to put it very simply, I think we wanted our players to play without fear. They need to be fearless, go out there and play, not worry that, okay, if I miss a cut, how am I going to pay for this week? Or am I going to pay my caddy? How am I going to pay for my accommodation? Here it's, very straightforward. It's 3 days. You play without fear. You can stand up on that first tee, give a driver and know that, listen, do my best, try and see what best I can finish. And of course, you're playing for 3 days. So you know what you're booking your accommodation for, your tickets for. It's all pre-planned. So it kind of helps in their structure and in their planning as well. And I think the behind the concept is to create it short, create fun, make it entertaining. We play a short web format on the last day, so people finish together. We bring in, it's more for the audience. We have them network with our players, so it's a mix of all of that put together. But the idea is to keep it short, crisp, and of
Yeah,
course,
I think in today's time, it's important to involve the spectators also into a sport like golf, which generally happen kind of just outside the ropes. But to make it more interesting,
yeah.
and to have like more interaction with the professional players, because the professionals to a club golfer just feel unreachable, right? Like it feels like I can't reach this person's gone.
Yeah.
But to kind of through pro-ams or through events where they mingle together, play together, shorter formats, more interesting, faster. I think just makes golf more interesting. And I think that's the need of the hour. Like,
So, I mean, that's been our thought and idea, right? The idea is to make it enjoyable and sustainable, of course, but the idea that it needs to be fun. People, like you said, right, the bottom of the pyramid needs to start getting and saying that the golf is a sport I can play. It's not boring. It's not an old match sport as it was called.
Yeah.
It's now there for the new age as well.
That's that's really good to know. And now you've got very interesting set of players playing in the IGPL tour. So I'll call them the veterans or the legends of the sport of Indian golf, which are people like Shiv, Gaganjeet Bhullar, G. Singh, WGAI, SSP Chaurasia, all these people, who carried the Indian flag for so many years, not only in India, outside. And that's the time that I've grown up seeing these guys, right? That's when I was growing up, these guys were at their top and they represented Indian golf. At the same time, you have these youngsters who've just come out of the amateur circuits, come out of college golf, players like Raghav Chugh or Sukhman Singh, a lot of the young professionals, existing professionals who've come and become a part, who have represented country in the near past. I mean, that's a very interesting mix. And on top of that, you've gone and put a team format into it. So what's the idea? What is the team format? A lot of people would want to know that. We know that there is a concept of a team angle into IGPL tour, but what is it exactly?
So in April, earlier this year in April, we did an auction where it was not a commercial auction. It was more a strategic auction where our contracted players were put in and they were basically drafted into teams. So all 10 teams have 4 players each. Uh, the idea behind, I mean, I'll just go back a little bit, but when we have the veterans or the legends of Indian golf, as we may call them, be it G. Milkha Singh or a Shiv Kapoor, Jyoti, Gaurav Bhai, SSP, they've all kind of achieved in their own domain amazing stuff, and they've kind of really been the flag bearers of Indian balls. For them to actually compete with these youngsters, it's just a great platform for these youngsters to learn, to take their exposure and experience from them. If you look at the way even some of these teams have been set up, like for example, Chennai has a Gaganjeet Bhullar, who's an 11th-time winner of the Asian Tour, and he's got a guy like Harjeet Singh Sethi, who's 21, 22 years old, right? Just turned pro maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So, it's that kind of camaraderie, but of course, the experience that someone like Harjeet can go with. Similarly, like Delhi has Shiv Kapoor, who's leading it, but they also have an Arjun Malik, right? He's been an All India champion. So like that, we've kind of created that, if I might call the kind of formation where the youngsters and the legends actually come and play together. We also try to see that the first round is where you might have a young amateur or an upcoming amateur playing with a seasoned pro, because that's where they learn, that you see their game, they understand how are they taking in the pressure, how are they behaving on the golf course, all of that stuff.
So while you're competitors, you're also creating an opportunity for the youngsters to learn from the most experienced people from this country.
Yes, absolutely. Just just to add on to that, I think also the team side of golf, right? Golf is an individual sport. Being a fan for an individual is very different to having a commitment to a team, right? We love our football, we love sports, and of course, Ryder Cup is something that I think every golfer looks forward to every 2 years. So the spin-off of trying to create fan following for a team is a big one. And I think here, like once much you hear about the teams and their names, we are looking to create that fan base for the teams, not just for an individual. And that is the identity of a city also. You know, this is what IPL did. I mean, before IPL, there wasn't this level of madness for cricket. So, I mean, that's what we want to achieve, and we're very hopeful we will. But you see it in the next coming years. I think after another season, which we're kicking off now.
So now, if you see that we've got our 10 franchises that are sold, and we've got, each franchisee has an animal or a creature that is attached to it. So in terms of, we've got, like, for example, the Delhi team is called RVR Blue Bulls, right? So RVR is their franchisee, that's the owner, that's the corporate that owns it. Hyderabad is called Firebird. So, there are these names which are easy for people to catch on to. And of course, I think what Akhil mentioned, right? You always want to go and buy a football jersey of your favorite team or your favorite player, right? So if you look at the way our jerseys are being designed, it's very, very out there, very bold, very colorful. I think I think there's going to be a lot of the younger generation that will resonate with it. I think, listen, I want to buy that jersey or I want to buy that player's.
I mean, I think it's time that like we've got fans in all sports. Like people, it's time that India also needs to have fans coming out of the golf ecosystem. I mean, I think they only deserve that kind of recognition. There's so many people who achieve so much on an international podium as well, but the general public of India does not really even know those people. I say it's time. I think we create real fans for these people and for these legends that have achieved so much. So apart from this, which is I think a great concept, you've had franchisees commit to like proper teams, and these are big corporates.
Yes.
I'm sure these corporates have seen something for a long-term vision to be involved in a sport like golf, and I don't think anything of this sort has happened before, right? Where corporates have really come in, apart from club leagues and inter-club events, or you have generally corporates being sponsors of club events or professional events. This is where you have ownership of a team and players. There is a long-term vision that they have seen.
Yes.
So how do you combine a corporate or like it takes a lot for a corporate to believe in a concept that's just a year old,
Right.
and commit for a longer period of time? So where does that come in this case?
See, the corporates have come in with obviously a vision that we have kind of envisioned for golf in this country, and then how do we take Indian golf globally? I think that's where the corporates have come in. The idea is, be it from the grassroots program, developing the junior golfers, developing our professional golfers, and more men and women. The idea is that we want to make India a superpower, creating more playing opportunities, which basically translates into golf courses, building more golf courses, having people who are there accessible. You're allowing people to actually go into a golf course. Today, you know that a lot of member clubs will not allow anyone who's not a non-member to actually walk in.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of opportunities which I think the corporates have also seen. They understand that golf as a sport is niche, but there is a lot of potential for it. And I think with our growing spending power of India, the country that we are, the economy that we are, I think that's where they are very bullish on. And we've got some of the finest corporates of the country who've actually invested into franchisees, and it's all out there. We've got a commitment with them for 10 years. And I think it's the start of something which is much, much larger.
And I think that's really important to grow the sport. You need corporates and people, visionaries to come into the sport for it to have like a really long sustaining period.
Because it's a slow moving sport, so it really takes time. Unless someone has that vision and patience to see it through from the start to the end, which all our corporates have. So I think that's a big boost to be able to create that pathway from, again, grassroots to the Olympic dream.
Now, something that I really appreciated that you guys have done is that you've taken your tour international. So you had, I think, 4 or 5 countries that you visited last year in the last season.
We did two last season and then we did three this year.
Yeah. So what's the idea behind that? Because till now it's an Indian tour. Like
Yeah.
it's out of India, but you've taken the players all the way to South Africa and Morocco and Sri Lanka, and Maldives and Congo, or Africa. And now you're the next half of the season starts. You go to UAE now.
Right.
And you look at the calendar. So I mean that's massive experience, firstly, for these guys
Absolutely.
to kind of go and compete, because once you play in Indian conditions, you're so used to the Indian golf courses, and you played. Then since you've been a junior, then an amateur, then you played the Asian tour, and then suddenly to go and compete on tours, whether they're in Europe or Asia or in South Africa, it's very difficult to adjust to it.
Yes.
Right? And that's what everyone says. But I think you guys have given that opportunity where it's possible now to go and see. And I was having a chat with some of the guys who played in Morocco, and they said that the conditions, they've never seen conditions like
this. Yeah.
they're like, we've never seen like winds like this. And we speak about Coimbatore being a windy course, and they were like, that was playing like a piece of cake, like with compared to this. So, like, I mean, that's a very, very bold and a powerful move. So, how have you, like, what's the idea behind that?
Yeah, that's about getting the youngsters and all the young professionals the exposure on. You yourself have been a playing pro.
Yeah.
So, our conditions are very, very similar pan India, more or less, right? But to be able to play on courses where you have multiple other factors than just the usual, including your greens, I think if you don't know or you've never experienced it, you'll never get good at it. And that's also coming back to the veterans like Ajeev and Shiv. They're great guides for all the youngsters to tell them. I mean, Shiv has won the the Asian Games gold medal back. I still remember the conditions were one of the hardest that they've ever been, but he battled it out. So he's someone you can learn from his experience. Jeev has played all over, so has SSP. So I think that makes it very, very comfortable for the youngsters to at least have like mentors within the tour to guide them. And then when they're actually on those venues, when they're playing there, I mean, I'm sure they must be talking to them after the rounds to say, this is what happened today, and I couldn't really, play well in the wind, or I couldn't factor in this. So that is a great idea.
Just to add, I think, we've always seen where we get global stars coming into India, right? We say, okay, Rory's coming for an event, or Dishapo's coming, Bryson's coming for another event, right? But when do we take Indian golf global, right? And that is one of our main visions, is like what you mentioned earlier, taking our Indian golfers global. We did Sri Lanka, we did Dubai last year at the Alstom, and we've played, some of the top courses globally. And when we were in Africa this year, and I'll just give you, I mean, I was there personally. We played Mauritius, we played Royal Johannesburg, and Mauritius with the Anaita golf course. And we played in Congo in a city called Lubumbashi. I don't even know if a lot of people might not even have heard of it. But it was just amazing how the welcome that we got in all three cities, so different. And, in Lubumbashi, which is, unheard of for most of these people, to actually take IGPL there, and the kind of response we got. I mean, the crowd was, I've not seen crowd like that at a golf course in a long time.
Probably one of our best events.
I would probably call the Lubumbashi event one of our best events. There were over 500 people on that last day watching these golfers. And Amanat Rao was there. She was like the tournament favorite. People were cheering and shouting. I mean, it was made for something which is much bigger. I think that was really paid off. I think it was our highlight, that they said, what we're doing is we're doing well.
Yeah. And this also puts IGPL on a more international global stage, right? The presence and eyeballs, it's a holistic side to it, right? It's not just the players. Players are one part, but then it's put us out there. So it's your reaction. Or you're playing in Morocco, or you're playing in Joburg. It's suddenly the whole perspective changes.
No, I think that's very important, because we speak of growing the sport within the country, but I think the fastest way to grow it is when you expose it to people outside of the country.
Right.
And India generally has been known for cricket.
Yeah.
And now suddenly seeing an Indian tour and an Indian golf ecosystem trying to go it on a global level, I think just gives it that kind of validation. Now, you spoke about Mannat Brar. So, I mean, that's, I think, a very important thing that I wanted to speak to you guys about, that you've got girls playing, the professional girls playing in your events as well, which is a very, very bold and powerful move to have girls playing with the boys in the same tournament. And we had Pranav winning a tournament in Mumbai. what is that experience like? Because I think this has created a very big stir in the Indian golf professional ecosystem to have boys and girls.
Yeah.
And we know that there has been general kind of an inequality in opportunity, resources, prize monies between men and women, and not only in India but across the world. Because you didn't see the PGA Tour versus the LPGA Tour. You see that existing.
Yeah.
But now to have girls come and play in your events, and out of that have a girl win a tournament, just gives that little hope to the young girls in India who are playing the sport, that the Indian girls are doing well. And now you see girls playing really well in Europe. You've seen Agni Prashant, Pranavi Urs, Insha Babel, all of them performing. Aditi has always for a very long time been a flag bearer of Indian golf. So how did this idea of getting girls in the sport?
I think the idea was equal opportunity. The idea was that, why do women not play for the same prize money that is there? And for us, it was just to create equal opportunity for both our men and women professional golfers. And I think somewhere it has paid off. Of course, Pranav did win in Bombay, and that was a huge win. But also, if you look at a lot of the top finishes, have been Hitachi had a great finish. I remember in Pune, Manna's finished, I think, third or fourth in Congo. So they have been competing. It's not that they're just there for making up the free, but they've actually been competing. And I think there's been a lot of learning for them as well from these made professionals. And you can see it with their finishes now on the ladies European, but not that anything to what we've done.
Yeah.
It's obviously all their effort and their hard work, but it's for them to also get to play with these professionals who are hitting it so long, or even these experienced professionals like having to play with a Gaganjit or a Jeev or a Shiv, right? You get that opportunity to actually learn from them as well, which you may not get otherwise. So I think, of course, for us, it's always about equal opportunity. But saying that, I think there's been a lot of learning experience for these girls as well.
And your latest news was last week, Arjun Prasad from who is playing and finished, I think, third or fourth on the professional or the BGTI, has now joined IGPL. I think that's a very big move.
Yeah.
And can you speak about that? I mean, I'm sure it's for him to speak. I should ask him that.
I think you need to ask him that, but I think with him joining, it just
strengthens,
of course, our tour, our field, and it just,
revalidates also.
Yeah, revalidates that.
Yeah, I mean, a person who's finished third or fourth on the BGTI Order of Merit has earned enough prize money, but for him still to kind of consider moving into a different tour also shows a pathway into other tours, which like the Asian tour, like you guys have got. And so Pukhraj last year, Pukhraj Singh Gill was the Order of Merit winner. And then he also was a winner on the ADT, which was, I think, again, something that revalidated something that IGPL has done, given him an opportunity, made him maybe a little bit more fearless to kind of go, because you're not always kind of calculating, making a cut, not making a cut, trying to manage everything, but just to be a little bit more bullish. And I think that was pure validation over there.
No, and if you look at him, I think he's 6 or 7 on the AUG, and he's got maybe 4 or 5 events left. And if he sticks into the top 10, he gets an Asian Tour card, right? So it's actually a pathway for someone like a Pukhraj, who's actually been at IGPL, played the ADT, and now has a very, very good chance at being on the Asian Tour.
Suits his style of play. He's an aggressive, fearless guy. I mean, he swings at 125 clicks, hits the ball a mile, but that's the way he likes expressing himself. And I think he's, from the start of the first season, he's just been tackled onwards and doing better and better. So I just feel you still have to make the birdies. You played pro golf. You still have to put in the work. You still have to score. It's not that there's no cut. There's no guarantees. You still have to play your best golf to win. And I think that's validation by a lot of the, I mean, Aman Roy with that bash back 9 under par back to back. So good scores are coming in. Guys are playing well. It's overall very good for them.
Yeah. So another thing that I was going through the list of the IGPL players, and a lot of them are my friends, and I've grown up playing golf, the amateur circuit, then the pro circuit, and now, but a lot of them, I think about 10 of them have represented India in the last 5 or 6 years. Playing in the amateur circuit. Generally, you got all India amateur winners. I think 4 or 5 of them that are with IGPL, play with in the IGPL tour now. You've got really young guys coming out straight off the amateur circuit. representing India, now turning professional, part of the franchisee, part of different teams. I think that also shows something to the guys who are, say, in the 15, 16 years of age right now, who are considering the future. And I think what IGPL most importantly has done is that when I was playing golf, I was playing amateur golf, and I wasn't that great, honestly, but so there was a lot of thought at home, to understand that is there enough opportunity for me to play and pursue a sport like golf in India where the prize monies are not so much, there are no guarantees, there are no pathways to get outside. Either you have to be really, really good, you have to be very rich, and that's the only way to get there. And now I think with IGPL coming in, that has created like it's made parents of young golfers think that okay, so golf is an opportunity. And because I coach, I hear a lot of these conversations where people start considering this now.
For sure.
It's easier. It's easier.
100%. No, I mean, we've got like a Danish Sharma who's 15 years old. We've got Sukhmat Singh who's been an All India champion, and he's 21. We've got V Dhanapati who's 18, the left-hander from Bangalore. Raghav Chok. I mean, these are all youngsters who are hardly 20, 21 years old who've made a mark. And Raghav Chok played college golf. He's here. Veer is one of the most talented golfers I've seen.
Sukhman just coming off a win
And the
at the All India.
India. So I mean, that mix is there, and I think honestly they are the firepower for the tour, right? They are the youngsters who we want to groom and develop. That is true. 28 or 2032 is when we look at a medal hopeful, or we even look at these players playing on the PGA Tour or playing the majors and actually competing.
Yeah.
And these are the youngsters that we want to kind of fuel as much as we can, give them the ammunition as much as we can. And then, of course, it's up to them to kind of go out there and do the
So
rest.
all of these guys obviously started at a very young age, from somewhere when the infrastructure was not at its best, honestly. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons on why Indian golf has not been able to kind of give the world that kind of players. I think there is no dearth of hard work and determination in this country or even passion. But opportunities, infrastructure, facilities, ease of access has been missing. Now, I know that you guys speak about grassroots development. How do you plan to get 50 more guys getting international on the tour in the next 10 or 12 years?
So, having thought through this, again, the same problem is the structure. And you as a coach and I as a coach both understand that from the start to the end, the students and the players have to find their own way. We don't have a proper pathway that would lead to them becoming professionals. Like you got college golf. We unfortunately don't have any college golf in India. So what do they do? So there is always that dilemma when a really good player is at 17 or 16 and now he wants to turn pro. Does he do it or does he continue to play? Coming back to where we started, we are looking at doing something where the more the base, the bigger the wider the pyramid at the bottom, more chances of you getting better players on top. So we're starting something called Golf on Wheels. This is a school introduction program. It is not a program where we are just going to get kids to hit balls. We are going to work it backwards. And we are going to start this with putting. Because putting is the most important aspect and the most ignored aspect, but the most fun aspect for any kid or anyone. So anyone can putt. Let's put it that way. So we're looking at about, in the next month and a half too, we're looking to go into about 100 odd schools, 90 to 100 schools. Do this with our city-based partners. So we're tying up with academies which are already in place, who are already there, established, like yourself and some of the others, because we don't just want to reinvent the wheel. There are people who already worked hard, created a base for themselves. They have respect. People go to them, juniors go to them. So let's try and get everyone under the umbrella, work together to fuel this, to get more and more kids. They will have a pathway. So you identify talent from schools, which a coach can easily do, right?
Yeah.
The hand eyes, and then you have these kids coming into the academies in the cities and starting to train. So now suddenly, if you look at, let's give a hypothetical number of, let's say you did 40,000 kids and even 5% or even 2.5% are interested in taking up the sport. That's a large number in multi-cities. So instead of having one or two superstars, you've got the potential of 10 to 15 superstars per city who you can develop with the pathway. of course, we're working on our structure and tie-ups and academies and all of that, so that these kids don't have number one, any restrictions. Of course, their teaching has to be taken care of. It's an expensive sport. So we will see how, and we're working on it, on how to make it a lot more accessible and easy for them to pursue this as a career. Then, of course, IGU coming in, they have a pathway to play the tournaments there. So starting from just putting and moving to junior golf and then amateur golf, and then of course the IGPL tour is right here. So it could be a complete end-to-end solution to what Indian golf has been missing for a while.
I really feel that this, in my opinion, everyone talks about developing golf or, developing the ecosystem or like these heavy words are thrown in.
Yeah.
I really feel that this is the real way to develop golf in India, is that you reach out to so many people, so many kids, make it accessible, because till now, golf has been accessible to people, kids of people from the defense generally, because you generally have a golf course, in the army, in the air force, the navy, or you've got kids of members of golf courses, or you've got a few parents who heard of golf and they're like, okay, I have a golf facility near my house. Let me just take my child, and if the child likes it, does not. And then we have like a very high attrition rate also. We have kids who take up the sport. It's a difficult sport. It is an individual sport. Sometimes gets boring for them and they drop off. But when the base is so large, I think even if we have drop offs, even if we have kids who don't want to take it forward, we still have a very large chunk. And I think that's the time we can put that many more players global to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these kids need to believe that they have access to the sports, because it's been, and truly it has been a very entitled sport for the longest time. But I think this will really help kids at least get a feel of the sport. So none of them have a feel of what golf is, or to be able to hold a golf club. I mean, just to buy a golf club, you know how expensive it is. So this could at least generate interest. Our idea is to, you might sensitize 100,000 kids, but a 5% of those, and there would be talented ones. We've seen some real good talent in a lot of schools where kids have no access on because of multiple reasons. And I think this provides a platform to them to actually go out there, and we be surprised in 2 years, we might see a real interesting crop of young kids coming out from all the 10 cities, especially the franchisee cities, because of course they are big supporters of the sport, and that's why they vested into this to grow it. I mean, that probably would be one of the most important aspects of the franchises.
Perfect, guys. That was a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
There was a lot that I got to learn on IGPL. I've been hearing a little bit here and there, but it was good to hear from the horse's mouth. And I'm sure the viewers have gotten to understand that IGPL is a lot more than a tour. And you guys are trying to attack it from the lowest level, and that is the right way to move. That's what something China did when they bid for the Beijing Olympics. Also, their goal was that we want to kind of reach the biggest base of the pyramid, the kids, identify them as per talent, and then build them, nurture them. And now you see that China is a massive superpower in every Olympic tournament, Olympic Games. So,
No, I mean, even for us, we've kind of focused on the media training. We obviously will focus on the mind, the psychologist training. So it's a holistic program that IGPL wants to put out there to kind of develop players. And I think very rightly mentioned, right? A country like China did that when they bid for the Beijing Olympics. And now you can see the results today, and they are far, far ahead.
Just one last thing going back is about the players, right? When you said cricket is followed, that's because cricketers are made into superstars also. They're visible. Unfortunately, the visibility for golfers is very low. I mean, the guys were fantastic. They speak well. They're very well turned out. They're great players. We're also now trying to put them out there. So, unless you see, you will not recognize. There is no visibility for most of the golfers. And I think once that part kicks off, and the association with the franchisees as part of a team and an individual, I think the growth and the entire following will change massively.
I think the whole idea of thinking of it like this,
Yeah.
I mean, automatically just kind of signals that you guys have thought it at a very, very deep level. And it's all for the betterment of these players, and they need to be treated like superstars, honestly. I feel.
Absolutely.
Right. And thank you guys. Thanks for your
Thank you
answer.
so much.
And it was great speaking with you
Thank
guys.
you.
Always a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much. Thank you.
So This conversation was with Akhil and Ishan from Indian Golf Premier League, and we clearly can see that this is a very direct influence on building the ecosystem of golf in India, not only from the perspective of professional golf tour, but also from the grassroots and a lot more towards player development. And I think Indian golf needs this at this point of time, and we are going to go through a major shift in how the sport is perceived in India.